Hey there. I've got a check engine light on my truck I'm trying to get taken care of today. I had one a while back. It was the P0401 error code. Did a thorough cleaning of the lower intake EGR ports, all of that, and that went away. It was about 1,000 miles later. Check engine light came back on, so we'll jump in there and see exactly what code it's throwing. There we can see the check engine light is staying on. Got my OBD tool in here, and it connects to an app on my iPad, so it should tell me what the code is. It's so bright in here, there's a reflection on everything. Alright, so I've got this connected. Got my vehicle selected up here, and then I just want to go to diagnostics. I see that I've got a stored code. So I want to tap on that. It'll tell me what it is. It's P0174, System 2 Lean Bank 2. So that's what I want to get fixed today. So we're going to get the truck moved into the garage. It's going to be a hot one out there. System 2 Lean can be caused by a number of different things. It needs a tune-up anyways. I was already planning on replacing the spark plugs today, so I've got all the spark plugs. Since that's the error code it's got, I'm going to run up to the store. I'm going to grab some mass airflow sensor cleaner, because that can cause issues. That System 2 Lean is basically caused by your oxygen and fuel ratio not being correct. I believe it's going to be too much oxygen coming through the exhaust. So I think we could either have mass air problem, an O2 sensor problem, so I'm going to buy one of those as well. Could also be a PCV valve. I'll check that. I might as well replace that, because that could definitely be a problem as well. As I mentioned, this thing has 220,000 miles. Has the original O2 sensors, original mass air sensor, everything is all original. Spark plugs, they probably have 60 or 70,000 miles. So I'll run to the store, buy a few things. I'll be back and we'll get started. Alright, the first thing we want to do is disconnect the negative terminal of the battery, which is a 5/16. Alright, now I'm going to remove the cover over the throttle body and then the air plenum here. This has 10mm bolts. There's 2 on driver's side, 1 on the passenger side. now we need to remove sensor here with the connector. So to push in on this part and it slides right off. This is a 5/16. Two hoses come off the side up here. Should just slide right off. We'll loosen the clamp. Another 5/16 right here where it clamps onto the throttle body. Alright, so the mass airflow that I want to clean is located inside here, little tiny sensor. The wiring comes up through the bottom of this piece, comes around on the back side. There's a little connection that we have to disconnect, and then but that's clipped onto a little hole to hold the wire in place. So I just need to pull that wire loose, and I can disconnect the little junction there. So if you just follow the wire from the bottom around the back, you should be able to find it pretty easily. Let's see if I can get it on camera. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. So here's the where the sensor is in here. Underneath this right here, it comes from the bottom of this plastic piece. It comes right off the bottom and around underneath. You'll see the clip. If I can move the around, I can't get the camera on it. Right, I was able to pull the clip loose, so now you can see what it looks like. So there's just this little clip that holds the wiring in place. So then you just need to disconnect these this junction here. Alright, now that I've got that wire disconnected, there's the connector. You'll just be able to break this loose. This whole piece should come right off. So your mass air sensor that we're going to clean is right here. Okay, so here's the unit. The sensor I'm going to clean right inside here. Looks like a tiny little wire. So I'm going to clean it. Well, actually, this is two separate pieces. First thing I'm going to do is take this apart. There's a connection inside here, another clip right in there. Disconnect that, and then this piece will come off. So I'm going to do that first. Alright, got that disconnected. There's the clip inside there. There's where it connects to the mass air sensor. So a couple things. You notice I'm wearing gloves, also wearing safety glasses. I'm also going to be using mass air cleaner. You don't want to use anything else to clean the sensor in here because it will no longer function correctly. That would be a big mistake. So only use your mass air sensor cleaner for this. Okay, so I'm going to spray this and I'm going to hold it upright so the residue drips off the bottom and it doesn't go up into the sensor. I don't want to spray it like that, or else this is going to fill up with the fluid and get inside the sensor there. So I'm going to turn it this direction. And I've got some paper towels here that are laying in a plastic bag. So I'll be able to catch everything that drips off of here. I'll let it evaporate and then I'll close it up and dispose of it. Alright, that should be good. I'm going to let that sit for a while. I'm going to do some other work on the truck while that's sitting there, and then I'll just come back to it. Alright, so I pulled the other end of this line off. It's got the same rubber fitting on there, and just like on the other end, if you can see, it's all dry rotted and cracked. So I guess I'll be making another trip to the store. I think I mentioned earlier this was the PCV over here. The PCV is actually on the other side, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that off next, just if there's any new fittings I need for that side. Let's see, I'm just going to pull this camera off of here so we can see. PCV on this side, actually right on top of the valve cover. Right back in here. So it's not that hard to get to. It's kind of hard to get the camera on it so you can see it. And that's it right there. So if we go in and pull that out, just gonna move this out of the way, and this should pull right up pretty easily. There we go. So there's that. So I actually have a new PCV valve, so I'm going to replace this piece. Then I'll check the hose where that goes on underneath this insulation and make sure it's in good shape. Next I'm going to go and do the O2 sensors. Before I put this back together, and if I have enough time, I'm going to do the spark plugs today. So O2 sensors are next. This was, geez, I think bank 2 sensors. It didn't tell me if it was the front or the rear, because there's 4 oxygen sensors on here. It's gonna be 2 on the passenger side, 2 on the driver's side. Driver's side is gonna be bank 2, I believe. I'll double check that. And then on each side there's one right at the beginning where the exhaust manifold is, and then one after the catalytic converter. There's another oxygen sensor. So I got one of each, so I'm going to replace both of them. Okay, I'm underneath the driver's side now. There's your exhaust manifold. Got the connection here where your exhaust connects to the manifold. Just beyond that is your first O2 sensor. This one looks like I can get a wrench on it pretty easily and probably have the most room. The second one, as you move past the catalytic converters here, sorry it's so close, in the second catalytic converter you'll see the next O2 sensor right here. So that I definitely cannot get a wrench on, but I have an O2 sensor socket. This should slide over that, and I'll show you what that looks like. And before I do that, you can see that these are multiple wire sensors. Looks like maybe a 4-wire sensor there, 4 or 5. And then there's a connection up here. So I'll have to, I don't know if you can get that on camera or not. I'm going to have to disconnect it up here before I try to take this off, or else it'll twist the wires up. So I'll disconnect that and then get these off. So here are the 2 new sensors. O2 sensor socket looks like this, like a regular socket, but on one side is open, and that's so you can get the wiring inside there and put it right over the top of the sensor. And then you can either turn this with a wrench, or if you can get your ratchet in there, you can do that as well. And you're able to break it loose. And these new O2 sensors, they come with your anti-seize already on the thread, so you don't have to put that on there. And so when I take the old ones out, I want to compare the plugs to make sure they're the same. And then the old ones, when I'm taking those out, you can see how these plugs operate. It's kind of helpful to look at this beforehand. This one just has a tab you push in, pushes in a little catch there, and then the plug will come apart. This one, same way, similar, has a button you push in like that to release the plug. And that's it. We'll go ahead and take the old ones out. This is a 7/8 O2 sensor socket, by the way. And then I'll have a 7/8 wrench to get to the one O2 sensor where I'm able to access it with this. Okay, I was able to get some good light on the connection for the rear sensor. You'll see it's right up there in blue. And the little tab I need to push in is right here on the bottom. Right there where my thumb is. It's the little tab you push in. So you should be able to push that in and pull down. Comes right out. Front one, it's going to be a little more challenging to get on camera. Alright, so I was able to get the connection off. Let me get my light on here. I was able to get that connection apart. Really just had to run a little tiny screwdriver up in there to hold the tab open. Right there, so that way I could pull it without having to hold the tab at the same time. And now this one that's accessible, I'm just going to use a 3/4 inch or 7/8 inch rather wrench, and take this right off. If you turn it a few times, it should actually come right out by hand. And there it is. And the back one, it's going to be a little more of a challenge. I'm going to have to get the socket on there. Let me grab that. There you go. Socket's on. Wire comes through the side of the socket. And now I can just get my wrench on here. Socket is 7/8, but the wrench you'll need is bigger. Let me see what size that is. This is a 1-inch wrench I'm using. Or it's possible, there's actually enough room I could probably get a ratchet on there, but I already have my wrench handy, so I'm just going to use this. So broke loose pretty easily. Alright, so I've got the new sensors here along with the old sensors, so I can compare the plugs, make sure they match, they look good. This one's not exactly the same, but it's the same size, pins are the same, clip is a little bit different. The little catch is still the same, so it should work in the old plug. And then also you do want to compare the O2 sensor itself, not just the fitting, and make sure they are similar. They may not be exactly alike, but you can see how similar they are. This one's going to go with the rear. where the catalytic converter is. This one goes in the line right off of the exhaust manifold. Probably not going to record putting these in because it's so hard to get the camera under there. But you want to hand tighten this when you put it in. Hand tighten it. Once it gets completely hand tight, you want to turn it about another 3/4 of a turn, and that should be enough. You do not want to over tighten it. And that's it. Alright, so I got the new sensors on. Everything went pretty smoothly. I was able to get a 7/8 wrench over the new plug, although it doesn't fit over the old one. I was able to get over the new plug and use the closed end to turn the O2 sensor on the front. The back one I had to use the socket just because of the location, and that went fine as well. So that's it. I'm going to put the truck back down on the ground. Alright, so I'm ready to do the spark plugs. Just need to get some stuff out of our way. We already got the air plenum out. I'm going to remove this bracket just because it's in the way of where we need to get to. This is a 5/16. Remove this bolt. Alright, so we've got a little bit more room now to get in there. Let me pull these vacuum lines off just so I can move this line around more to get it out of my way. There we go. Alright, let's look at the other side. Other side's not too bad. Just have some heater hoses here that I should be able to move out of my way. Sort of move these out of my way pretty easily while I'm in there working. You can see where I've replaced the heater core and couldn't get the hose off back there, so I just cut it and clamped it, if you're wondering what that is. Alright, I'm going to start on the driver's side. Okay, actually before we move on, I'm going to cover a couple things real quick. Right here in the engine bay, it should show your correct spark plug gap, which is 0.052 to 0.056. That matches what it says in the book here. If you get one of these manuals, it's very helpful, just because there's a lot of things very specific to different model vehicles. A lot of parts will fit on different vehicles, but there's some that are very specific that you need to use that are more appropriate than others. One of those is spark plugs. So you'll see this shows your different models, which mine is a 4.6 V8 2001. So it's going to be a AWSF 32P or equivalent. So you'll see there's different spark plugs for all of these different model trucks. So make sure you get the correct one. Then I'm going to go ahead and go through all the spark plugs and check the gap on each one of these and make sure they're right before I get started with everything else. That way I don't forget to do that when I'm in the middle of swapping all the plugs. And to do that, I'm going to use one of these spark plug gap tools. Pretty simple to use. So you just find the .056. It's going to be right here where my thumbnail is. And you will just put that inside the gap here, and make sure it fits snug right in that area between the .05 and the .06. So right here's my target, right in this range. So I want to run this from where it's thinner, run it right around until it gets kind of tight. And see here, this one's stopping at .05. So I'm going to just open this up a tiny bit so I can slide around a little bit further, and that should be good. And that one's good. Alright, so all those look good. I had to open up a couple of them just a little bit, and ready to get back over to the truck. Alright, this is pretty straightforward. The piece right here is on top of the spark plug. This is what you call a coil pack. It's got a plug on the side that needs to be removed, and then it's got a bolt on the back side that needs to be removed as well, and this will lift straight up off the spark plug to allow access. So I'm going to do that now. Pull this plug off. There's a little tab you push in, and should allow this to release. Just use a little screwdriver here to push in the tab. Slides right off. I've got a 9/32 socket on a long extension. The issue you have with these is access. So the long extension is great right now, but as you can tell, when I get back there, I won't be able to use this. So you have to use shorter extensions and crawl up in there and get your hand in there. So it gets more challenging the further back you go. There's the bolt. It will help. This is a wobble extension that allows the socket to be able to move around on the end of the extension. And I've got a shorter one of these as well, so when I get back there I don't have to be exactly straight up and down. I can be off to the side just a little bit to use this. Let me show you one other tool I picked up. So I've got a couple of these spark plug sockets. It's got a rubber boot inside. It holds onto the spark plug, so when you pull it up it takes the spark plug with it. I also picked up one of these. Hopefully it's going to work. This is a spark plug socket. It's magnetic, so it holds onto the spark plug, but it's all made in one piece. But it has quite a bit of travel. It's like almost like a swivel extension. So this is all one unit. And what I've read online, this will really be necessary for the back rear passenger side spark plug number 4. Maybe on number 8 over here as well, just where access is difficult. And once you break it loose, you know, it's got a little knurled surface here to be able to turn this by hand. So I'll let you know how this works out. Alright, so I've already got this first one, the little bolt removed and the plug removed. So this should come straight up. Just like that. So when you take this out, it's kind of like a spark plug boot. And it's got the piece in there that goes down on top of the spark plug. And there's where that bolt went through to hold this down. And spark plug's down in a hole. So before I remove any spark plugs, I'm going to take an air hose and blow out that hole and blow out all the surface area. Matter of fact, before I remove any more of these, I'm going to blow out the top of the head on both sides, just to make sure there's not a lot of debris that's going to be falling down in there. Alright, that's all cleaned out. So once we go through all of these and disconnect the electrical connection and remove the bolt holding in the coil packs. Alright, so I've hit a snag on cylinder number 7. It's part of the fuel rails in the way, so I'm going to use a small socket. Then I have this little wrench here I can use, so hopefully I can get this in there to break that one loose. So I finally got it on there. I just kept having to put the socket on, then I'd get the wrench in there and pop it into place and turn it about a quarter turn, and then I'd keep doing that over and over again. But finally got it out. That was number 7. Now I just have to do number 8, which is even further back in there. Can't see it, so you just have to kind of go by feel. Alright, so I finally got a socket on there. Probably barely see it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not. I've got 2 short wobble extensions, and it's right back here. So I'll get a ratchet on there. Should be able to take that last bolt out. I know I'm going to have trouble getting to this. I'm going to do the spark plugs themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen the bracket that holds this to the back. Looks like it's maybe run around to the EGR. There's just one nut that holds on this bracket here, and this will move completely out of the way. And that's a 10 millimeter. And I'm going to remove the hose that's on the other end of it. It's holding it in place. And that little hose just broke, which is interesting. Went ahead and cut a new one just so I could have it on there. I don't have to worry about it later. That should work. Alright, I'm going to move on to the other side. Well, actually, I'm just going to stick to this side since I already have the camera sitting here. I'm going to take the air hose, blow this out one more time. Now that I took all the coil packs out, I want any loose debris out of there before I remove the spark plugs. Alright, the first ones that I can get to a little bit easier. I'm going to excuse my regular spark plug socket. And I have a wobble extension I'm going to use with it. And we'll see how that goes. Alright, so I've got all 4 spark plugs out on this side. My battery died on my phone, so I wasn't able to record for a little bit there. I haven't done this side yet. When you put these in, you want to put just a little dab of this anti-seize just on the thread, just one dab on one side, just like that. Be sure you don't get anywhere towards the end here or on this side. Go ahead and show you. Clean this brush off a little bit. So that's all you need. Just a little bit on that one side. That might even be too much. I want to wipe it with my finger because I don't want to get that stuff in my fingers and then handle the spark plug. There we go. So that's all you need right there. I used a little piece of pipe on my 3/8 ratchet handle just to be able to break it loose. They were in there. They were lodged pretty tight. So right here, spark plugs, 84 to 168 inch-pounds. Alright, I've got this hand tightened as far as I can get it. So I have an inch-pound wrench, but it only goes up to 80. So I'm going to use my my big torque wrench. Now I've got it set about 10 foot-pounds of torque, which is about 120 inch-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up now. And that's it. Doesn't take much. One thing I like about this, your spark plug socket won't get stuck down in there, which can be a problem if you have one that has the rubber inner part that really sticks to the socket. So this is magnetic, and it lets go pretty easily. It's strong enough to hold the socket in there, but it lets go quite easily when you go to pull it out. Alright, so that's number 5 done. Just got 3 more and I'll be done. Done with this side, that is. I'm not going to record all these. I'm just going to go through and pull all these bolts out just like I did on the other side. Pull all the sockets out. I'll let you know if I run into any issues getting the all the sockets, all the spark plugs. I'll pull all the coil packs off, pull all the spark plugs out. I'll let you know if I encounter any major issues. From what I've seen online, the one in the back is the most difficult to get to, but the that socket tool that I got, the spark plug tool that I got, should make that a lot easier. Alright, I'll let you know when that's done. Alright, so I've actually removed and replaced the first 3 spark plugs. Just going to work on the last one. It is very hard to get to. I didn't even unplug the coil pack here. It's just it's still plugged in there. So that's where this is going to come in handy. I can barely see where the hole is. I'm going to have to kind of feel my way back there to get it in. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you probably can't see that back there where the where that extension is. I just dropped it right back there. So that's the spark plug tool. Alright, so I've got that on there. It looks like I may be able to get a ratchet handle right there. Right. So I get my breaker bar on here, that'll make that a little bit easier. And there it goes. So I've broken that loose.
Hard part's getting the new one back into place without being able to see it, and I don't want to drag it through all the grime that's kind of caked onto the engine. Oh my god, this light is my last nerve. Alright, it's in there. And it started. I'm just getting an extension on there. Alright, so I've got the extension on, it's right there. So now I should just be able to get my ratchet on there. I don't think I'm going to be able to get my torque wrench on there, but I've kind of got the feel of it now, how tight these need to be. Don't need that light anymore. Alright, that's it. So all of the spark plugs are now in. Now I've got to go back and put all the boots on and bolt those down and reconnect all the wiring to each of the boots. So I got the first coil pack on. You can't really see where it goes. I just kind of had to feel around where the bolt goes. You can see right there where I'm pointing is where one of the bolts go for the coil pack. So on the very back one, I just had to feel around for that and get the coil pack turned and down into place until I felt like that was lined up. And I'm going to try to put a bolt in there. And just because I know I'm not going to be able to hold the bolt and get it down in there, I'm going to use my magnet and try to get it down there into the hole with the magnet, and then I can use my finger just to slide the magnet off the bolt. I did finally get it started, got it bolted down. That was the most difficult one. So I did it just like I was trying before. I used the magnet to get it down in there, and then I used my hand to kind of feel around, get it started, and then I was able to get the socket on there and the extensions. I just used the 5/16 and then 2 wobble extensions just so I could get enough of a range there to get it back down in there. And that was it. And it's already plugged up. So now I'm going to do all the rest, let you know when I'm done. Alright, this side is completely done. All these are bolted down. All the connectors are plugged back in. Everything's good. There's not even anything that I disconnected over here. So I'm ready to move to the other side. Alright, so I got all these spark plugs back in. All the boots are on. The connectors are connected. In doing this, I did realize that the bolt holding these down is actually a 7mm. I think I was able to get them all out using a 5/16 or something, or 9/16, but it's actually a 7mm. I found that out because to put this one back in, the only thing I could really successfully get on there was a little 7mm wrench like this. I was able to get it down in there, get it on there, and just turn it like a 1/10 of a turn at a time. Took forever. I was able to get a socket on these first two and on the back one, believe it or not. On this one, this is in the way, and I did remove this vacuum hose that goes here. Put that back on now. So that's it. I'm ready to reassemble. We'll put this this line back on first. This connects over on the back of the EGR back here. Let's see if we put the back side of that. Just like that. But I can tell you it definitely wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. Could not have done it without this tool. I just bought this on Amazon a couple days ago. I'll put a link down in the summary for this, and it was definitely a lifesaver. The first spark plug socket I put in this number 5 on the number 5 spark plug. It actually stuck to the spark plug, and I pulled the extension out, and then the socket was stuck down in there where I almost couldn't get it out. Luckily I got it out using some gosh, what did I use? Used the hose pliers and stuck down inside the socket, and was able to open them up and pull it out. But this was definitely a lifesaver. So I've got this bracket back on. The hose is connected to the back. Pull this vacuum off, put that one back on. Next I want to put these 2 vacuum lines on here, and I'm going to put this bracket on. It goes from here to here. Again, I believe these are 10mm. Nope. It is an 8mm. Then we're going to go ahead and do the mass air section of the plenum right there by the air filter. Alright, so we want to go ahead and put this back together. Just got to get that plug reconnected on the inside there. Those two connect together. It only goes one way. Alright, finally got that reconnected. Make sure this rubber boot is in all the way on the bottom. Just go just like that. Make sure your air filter is pushed in all the way. I need to get the ring that holds all this together. Actually, this needs to be pointed down. Okay, I think I got this ring on here right now. That's good. Now I have to connect the line over here. There's this plug that goes underneath to the other end right here. Connected. Now we're ready for the next part of the plenum. Move this camera. Make sure that plug goes. This goes on here. This needs to connect here. That should do for now. Let's get this plug back in. Tighten your clamps back down. Oh, I thought that was a 5/16. It's actually an 8mm. Alright, put my throttle body cover on. I believe are a 10mm.
Are you alright out here?
I think that's it. Alright, battery's done. Everything's back together. So I want to go over some of the things I used real quick that you're definitely going to need. You're going to want some anti-seize for the spark plugs. Make sure you have the right spark plugs. This tool is definitely a must-have. I'll put a link for this in the summary below the video. Put in my O2 sensors. For that I needed a 7/8 and a 1-inch wrench. Also used the O2 sensor socket. be that size as a 7/8. Also replaced the PCV valve, no special tools needed for that. I did use the torque wrench installing the spark plugs. Had a whole variety of extensions. A lot of these are wobble extensions where they're rounded on the end. That allows some swivel with the socket on the end. I did use a U-joint, taking off one of the spark plugs, I believe. Had a 7mm, 8mm, 10mm, and a 5/16. Just a couple of flat blade screwdrivers. This a little one like this really helps with some of the connectors. And then some different ratchet handles. I needed some of these that would give me as a low profile as possible for one of the bolts holding down the boot over the spark plug. The coil pack, definitely couldn't have done it without the magnetic pickup. I dropped several things a couple of times and they just disappeared down in there in the back of the engine compartment. And safety glasses and a light, and that's pretty much it. I tried to use gloves, but it was such a tight squeeze in there I couldn't use gloves like that, or the rubber gloves. I just had to go in with my hands. Cut me up a little bit here and there, but not too bad. And definitely go ahead and pick up a repair manual. There's a lot of good information in there. It's very helpful looking for torque specs or product specs. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Oh yes, also use the air compressor. So crank the truck up. No check engine light, but I believe that's only because the computer was reset. So I'm going to drive it for a couple of days. It's about 2 trips to work will be over 50 miles, so I should be able to tell then if the issue is fixed. I did drive it around the block. It definitely feels a lot stronger. Feels like it has a little bit more torque in it. But it's been a few days. No check engine light. Got my dash command app opened up here. I'm going to go to diagnostics. See how the readiness monitors are complete. 0 codes. Just to double check, I'm going to hit read codes down here at the bottom. And nothing's changed, so the check engine code has cleared. Alright, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll have another video out soon.